I'm Kathy Evans Williams, and in my many years as a divorce attorney, I have witnessed couples saying and doing some very hurtful things to each other. This can be very destructive to their children, their finances, and even to the individuals themselves. I like to help couples navigate through the compromises of an uncontested divorce. When your I do turns to I don't, you need a divorce with integrity. Okay, now let's move to real estate. It looks like you have three pieces of property. One is the marital home. One is the investment property that's a 4-unit building that you bought during the time of the marriage. And the other is a single family home that you purchased before marriage. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, it looks like on the marital property, you actually tried to refinance last year. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, and you weren't successful. You weren't able to refinance?
No.
Okay, and then you also tried a loan modification and that didn't work either?
No.
Okay, all right. So from there, you told me that the appraisal was 140,000, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you actually owe, what was that, 180,000. So you're actually upside down in the property. You owe more than what the property is worth. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. With respect to the investment property that was purchased during the marriage, the 4-unit, that is considered marital property as well, just like the marital home, since it was purchased during the time of the marriage. That 4-unit looks like you have here that it's worth about 250,000, and that you owe about 300,000 on it. So that property is also upside down. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, the property that you purchased before the marriage, it looks like that property is worth about 150,000, correct?
Yes.
And that you only owe about 70,000 on it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the only piece of property that has some equity in it. That's what it looks like to me. So you have about $80,000 in that property. Now, did you ever refinance that property during the time of the marriage?
No.
Okay, and did you ever commingle the funds, like when your tenants paid you, did you put that into your joint account or did you always keep that separate, in your own separate account?
I kept it separate.
Okay. All right, what do you want to do with these three properties?
Well, I'm going to keep the house because that's where the kids and I live.
Okay.
And the building, I believe we should sell that.
Okay.
We can sell that and split it. This house that I had before we got married, that's my house.
Okay. All right. And Stan, how do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, that was her house before we got married, so yeah, she keep that. That's fine with me.
Wow. Okay. So you're okay with that. That's the only piece of property with equity, and that's okay. She can keep that one. Okay. How about the other two properties?
The other two, I don't want to sell the 4-unit.
Mm-hmm.
That's bringing a source of income, and the last piece of property, I think we should keep that as well.
Okay. So when you say keep that, help me a little bit. The house that you currently, that's the marital property, the house where the children and mom reside,
Right.
you want to keep that one.
Right.
And the 4-unit, you want to keep that one.
Right.
And she can have her single family home.
Correct.
How are you going to maintain the mortgage on the two properties that you want to keep?
Well, the 4-unit is maintaining itself, and I've been paying the mortgage on that, so. Regardless, so unless you have a better solution.
Well, this is, again, the beauty about this is that it can be done by agreement. So I can give you some information, but you two ultimately will come up with your own marital settlement agreement. So with respect to this 4-unit, did you say that you wanted to keep it or you both want to keep it? I'm not clear on that.
Well, seeing as I've been maintaining it and doing everything, I want to keep it.
Okay, so you want to keep the 4-unit, and then what about the marital property, the residence, the marital residence?
The one that was hers.
No, I think we're saying the one that was hers, she keeps.
Okay. Well, well, I think we could sell the marital property and she can move back into the property that she already owned.
Okay.
Are you nuts?
No.
There is no way I'm going to move into that. Move my children out of our home and move them into an income property that would not even hold us. I would not leave my house to move into income property. Somebody's in here. What do you want me to do with them? Throw them out?
Yeah. Like you doing me.
I'm not leaving my home and you left.
Okay. So,
Made me
So we're
leave.
not selling the house that we live in. The children and I are not leaving our home to live in the income property.
so let's look at the money. Let's look at the money because, again, whenever you go to court, it's really not about emotions. It's about the money. It looks like you have two properties that are upside down, meaning you owe more on them than what they're worth. So selling them, you won't receive any money from the sale. But
Okay.
you will be able to release yourself from the liability on the mortgage. So right now, both parties are on the mortgage for the marital residence, right?
Yes.
Okay. Both parties are on the mortgage for the 4-unit, correct?
Yes.
And you're the only person on the mortgage for the single family home that you bought prior to marriage, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to take that off the table. We've already talked about that single family home. That's yours. That debt is yours too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these two properties where you both are responsible for the mortgage, if mom is going to stay in the marital residence, do you want her to be responsible to pay the mortgage?
Of course.
Okay. Now, if you stay in the marital residence, are you going to be responsible to pay for that mortgage?
I thought we discussed already that you were going to cover the mortgage and that would be your system of maintenance.
I think we put maintenance on the table for later because what we wanted to do was take a look at our asset disclosure statement.
So we didn't determine that you were going to continue to pay that mortgage.
Right. And I think what we're doing here is identifying that maybe we don't really know how bills are going to be paid because we don't know how much we really have left. So maybe what we need to do at this point is actually table the discussion on the real estate because we don't know if we can afford to maintain these properties. And if at the end of the day, when we look at our numbers, it shows that maybe, mom, if you're in the house and you need to pay the mortgage, maybe you can't afford to do that. Maybe you will have to make other accommodations. Maybe it's going to be in the best interest to sell the property and not be responsible for something that you can't pay for, and vice versa. Right?
But you
Maybe.
just said that the house is upside down. If we sell the property, we won't get anything for it anyway. And it's the property that your kids live in.
Well, we can sell the other properties. It'd be less responsibility.
We can sell the other building. If we could sell the 4-unit. But the home that we live in, we're not selling that.
And sell the property that you own, that you
That's off the
purchased.
table.
So let's do this. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about a short sale because that's what we're talking about. When you sell your property for something that's less than what is owed, that's called a short sale. So we'll talk about that for both the marital residence as well as the 4-unit, but we'll talk about that after you complete that disclosure statement, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we're going to move on to the next issue, all right? Don't leave your children or family in jeopardy. People of all income levels need a will to protect their family and surviving assets. Without a proper estate plan or will, the courts will determine who gets what and who will raise your children without considering your wishes. No matter your assets or your income, everyone needs the proper estate plan. My name is Kathy Evans Williams, and I want to make sure your family is protected.